The following videos were originally released in 2009 and do not necessarily express the current views and attitude of the uploader. Also, Ridley's video is missing.
Hi, I'm Pizza Dude Guy, and we're gonna talk about Gino. Gino is one of my favorite characters. He's only in one game, but he has lots of moves. So we're gonna talk about his movesets.
Alright, Gino it is then. So, for Gino's fighting style, I imagine there would be a lot of masterfully executed punches and kicks and whatnot, but also there would be a lot of weapon-based moves. Kind of like Snake, I guess. Gino is basically a living tank, and as such, I'm just going to show you a montage of attacks that be incorporated into Gino's A fighting style.
With one last chance, nine us to lay away. It just stays the same in my dream. I will be.
Oh, there's also a move where Gino does like a double-handed rocket punch, and I couldn't find a video of that, but that'd be in there too. Okay, that'll do for Gino's A moves. So now we'll talk about his special moves. I wanted all of Gino's attacks to be references to Super Mario RPG, so his B move is the Gino Beam. You charge it up and let it go, and Gino releases a powerful beam. It does weak rapid combo damage while pushing opponents away a bit, so it's pretty basic. His side B would be the Gino Whirl, a big energy disc that's fast and pushes opponents away while doing some damage. Now, it will not do 9,999 damage. However, if you do press B right as it hits an opponent, it'll stop in its tracks and blast opponents with a slightly better knockback. And then his up B would be this, the Gino Boost. Basically the way it would work here is he would just magically make a bunch of up-pointing arrows that would send him straight upward. Opponents who touch him would also go flying upward with him while taking a little bit of damage. And then Gino's down B, the Gino Blast. I guess you could say it would work a lot like Pikachu's Thunder Attack. You press down B and a beam of light comes down. It's a little weaker though. However, you can charge it up and then send out multiple blasts at a time, which makes it harder to escape than Pikachu's Thunder. So now we'll end this video with Gino's final smash, the Gino Flash. Gino turns into a cannon, you can take aim, you get one shot, you fire, and then this happens. A massive explosion that's incredibly powerful and hard to escape. Tune in next time when we'll talk about another character on the roster.
Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man. Now, we'll be looking at one of Darth Mario 99's suggestions. This time, it's for King K. Rool.
For King K. Rool's A moves and fighting style, he doesn't use his claws or his teeth like Ridley or Bowser. Instead, King K. Rool's style is completely based on crushing his opponents, whether it be punching them, smashing them down with his tail, rushing into them, body slams, elbow thrusts, whatever. He's based on knocking his opponents away, pursuing them, and then knocking them away again. Also, like Donkey Kong, despite his large weight, he's relatively fast. King K. Rool's B move is the Cannonball, from Donkey Kong Country 2. King K. Rool pulls out his blunderbuss, and then you can charge it in the same way as you charge Diddy's Peanuts. The cannonballs that King K. Rool shoots out, however, have very little range. The shots, though, are very powerful, and upon hitting the ground, spikes will come out of them. Then, the spiked cannonballs will sit there for a few seconds before disappearing, working as traps. And then his side B is the Crown Boomerang. King K. Rool throws his crown like a boomerang, and although he can't change the direction of it, and it doesn't have as good of a range as Link and Toon Link's boomerangs, his Crown Boomerang is faster, stronger, and while he's using it, he can't be stunned, although he can still take damage, like when Ike is using his Aether attack. King K. Rool's up B is the Copter, from Donkey Kong Country 3. This move actually works like a better version of Wario's corkscrew attack from Brawl. He goes a little higher than Wario's corkscrew, and he can also change his direction horizontally slowly, but mainly it hurts enemies by rapidly hitting them with the chopper at the top. And then King K. Rool's down B is the Crusher, taken from both this and this. So the move kinda works like a slower version of Donkey Kong's down B. King K. Rool rapidly jumps up and down, and every time he hits the ground, he creates a quake that sends opponents flying up into the air. However, while his move is slower than Donkey Kong's, King K. Rool has the ability to move around while using it. So he can jump and produce a quake, and then you can jump forward with him and produce quakes as you go. And then King K. Rool's final smash is the Cannonball Barrage from Donkey Kong Country. King K. Rool rapidly stomps in one place and it starts raining cannonballs, which will of course hurt you if they touch you. After hitting the ground, the cannonballs will continue to roll around the stage until they fall off, or after a certain time limit if they get stuck. As one last side note, all of King K. Rool's attacks, even if it's incorrect, start with a K. And that's it for King K. Rool's moveset. Tune in next time for another character. Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man with
Last character.
And of course, it's Toon Zelda, as suggested by, well, a lot of people. So instead, I'd like to say thanks to all of my viewers out there, all my friends, all my subscribers. You guys are just all great, and I want to thank you for watching my vids. And look forward to the new ones that are coming out after this one. With that, let's talk about Toon Zelda. Of course, like Klaus, I have to say,
Spoilers, blah, 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 spirit tracks, blah, 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 you haven't played, stop watching unless you don't care, blah.
Now, of course, I based Toon Zelda off of her appearance in Spirit Tracks, where for the first time in a Legend of Zelda game, she makes an appearance as your consistent partner throughout the series, like Navi or Midna. But Toon Zelda is probably my favorite partner ever. Not only is she the wielder of one of the Triforces, and she's always with you, she's hilarious, she has great character, and she even helps you in battle. How, you may ask? And then as a Phantom, Zelda would actually help you fight, being more like a second playable character than just a partner. And so inside this giant suit of armor is how I would make Toon Zelda fight. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, that's not really Toon Zelda, that's a Phantom. However, there are actually good differences between a normal Phantom and Toon Zelda. Well, inside the Phantom's body, Zelda still has her own voice and her own personality, which makes for some really hilarious cutscenes, like these. So to me, it's just the way that Toon Zelda fights, and that's what I want to represent. On top of that, Toon Zelda's not going to fight like an ordinary Phantom. Toon Zelda will fight like what she is, a rather dainty princess inside of a giant hulking piece of armor with a giant sword. Despite being equipped with such great stuff, she has no idea how to use it. So she'll have this kind of timid battle stance, and while of course she's a super heavyweight character and can't run that fast, she'll also be very powerful and very unpredictable. Like I said, it's like giving someone with absolutely no battle experience a giant sword and the full capacity to use it. So Zelda will attack by randomly flailing this huge thing around with some other random hits, like hitting the opponent with her shield at points that wouldn't normally make sense, or headbutting, or even just doing physical attacks. Just trying whatever she can think of to take her opponent down. And not only be powerful, but some of them actually set up good combos. Of course though, to keep in some of the real Toon Zelda, I incorporated her in a lot of things, such as her opening fight sequence, several of her taunts, one of her special moves, and of course, her final smash. With that, let's move on to Toon Zelda's special moves. Now in Spirit Tracks, as you advance in the game, you start to get the ability to possess several different kinds of phantoms with special powers, so I made Zelda's special moves the special powers of those special phantoms. Toon Zelda's B move is Torch, based off of the Torch Phantoms. This one looks like a temporary power-up. By pressing the B button, Toon Zelda's sword spontaneously lights on fire. Now, if an opponent's close to you during this time, your sword will automatically burn them, but that's not the point of the move. By activating the move, for a short while, Toon Zelda's sword will be on fire, making it slightly more powerful, extending its range a little bit, and of course making it fire-based. Then, the fire disappears and you'll have to press the B button again if you want to light it on fire again. And then Zelda's side B is the Wrecker, based off of the Wrecker Phantoms. Zelda just transforms into a boulder and rolls forward a certain distance, at a speed somewhere between slow and moderate. Of course, Toon Zelda's a slow character, maybe even the slowest, so this move is designed to help her get up to her opponents and approach them easier. The Wrecker attack does do damage to an opponent if it comes in contact with them, just rolling into them and doing some combo damage. However, its main function is, while automatically moving forward, Zelda takes no damage or stun from any projectiles whatsoever. Projectiles are just destroyed or bounce off. And then Toon Zelda's up B is Warp, taken from the Warp Phantoms. This one pretty much works like Pharaoh's Wind worked in Brawl, only with more power and knockback with the actual spinning. However, Toon Zelda has one more weak point, and that's the fact that she's so heavy. Even with her up B, it can be pretty tough to recover, and enemies can probably edge hog you and meteor smash you pretty easily if you're off the stage. And so Toon Zelda's down B is her one saving grace to this. Possess. Zelda actually unpossesses the phantom she's in, leaves it, and then the phantom body disappears. Then you can freely fly around as Zelda's spirit for a very short time, before a new phantom appears and Toon Zelda automatically repossesses it. This move has both its advantages and its disadvantages. The main advantage is that you can freely fly around as you please and you can't take any damage at all. The disadvantages are that you can't attack while in this state, of course, and also it's very hard to charge up. You see, it works like Wario's Waft charge. You just wait for it to charge. However, unlike Wario Waft, you can't release it before it's ready. You can only use the move after a certain amount of time has gone by, and once you use it, you can't use it again until the same amount of time has gone by. Also, it lasts a pretty short time. But while it is working, it is the ultimate escape move in any situation. And then Toon Zelda's final smash is, of course, the light arrows. As I mentioned before, Toon Zelda's light arrows make the opponents blast upward, while Zelda's make them shoot forward. And so, that means we are done with all of the SSB4 character moveset videos. Tune in next time for more SSB4 ideas. Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man with another SSB4 character moveset video. Now, we're gonna look at the moveset of Samurai Goro, because he's the only F-Zero character left, so I thought I might as well do him. Now, within the F-Zero games, Samurai Goro doesn't show off his fighting ability a whole lot, but since he's a samurai and wields a big katana, I think we can assume that he is a samurai who wields a big katana. So, even though he never shows his ability, there's plenty of inspiration from basic samurai moves and techniques that we can borrow from. There is no problem in creating an A move set for Samurai Goro. Here's just a small example of something. So I imagine as a character, Samurai Goro would be relatively fast, but not too fast, with more emphasis on power and dealing out combos in quick succession. Alright, so let's move on to Goro's special moves. Now, for Goro's special moves, I did want some kind of a Goro reference or basis. First is Samurai Goro's B move, the Stingray Slash. I got the name idea from his vehicle, the Fire Stingray, and it's kind of also based off of a different version of the Falcon Punch. As you can see, Samurai Goro's katana is strong enough to break through solid steel when he uses it to his full potential. So this move would be a charge-up swing with his katana that deals good damage. However, instead of launching opponents away, it has even less of a charge-up than one would expect from a charge-up attack, and just slices opponents vertically forward in front of him in a semi-helpless state. So even though it's a powerful attack, it doesn't knock opponents away, instead making them close to him, allowing him to start using A-move combos against them as he pleases. The Stingray Slash also has the additional ability to reflect solid projectiles. So now we have Samurai Goro's side B, the Samurai Slice. This attack is based off of this event in the anime, as well as Samurai Goro's abilities as an assist trophy in Brawl. Samurai Goro just rushes forward really quick with his sword in a drawn position. He can even run like this in the air. When he touches an opponent while in this state, he'll run through them, slicing them rapidly, and then continue on his path until it's over. Next is Goro's up B, the Goro Flip. This comes from Samurai Goro's apparent ability to rapidly execute backflips. The move would work like this. Samurai Goro rapidly backflips into the air with his katana out, allowing you to rapidly slice your opponents on the way up. However, the trajectory of how Goro jumps is upward and slightly backward, though you can influence its direction a bit. For instance, if you hold forward all the way, Samurai Goro will just go straight up, which can be great for recovery and as well as protecting yourself from edgehoggers. However, if you so desire, you can also use the move to escape attacks by pressing it all the way backwards, making Samurai Goro do a whole bunch of backflips far away. And then last is Goro's down B, Counter Strike. While the Stingray Slash protects him against projectiles, this move counters melee attacks. When you press down B as Goro, he just sticks his sword right in front of his face, and if a melee attack gets him, he strikes the opponent. However, unlike Marth and Ike, who knock their opponent away, Goro just does a simple slash, which instead makes the opponents dizzy, allowing him to start hitting them as he pleases. And then last is Samurai Goro's final smash, which, like Captain Falcon the Blue Falcon, it's his vehicle, the Fire Stingray. Now, while the move initially activates in the exact same way as Captain Falcon's Blue Falcon, with the Fire Stingray coming in from the foreground and Samurai Goro jumping into it, after he does that, the move is a lot different from Captain Falcon's Blue Falcon. Instead, he climbs into it, and then he starts driving across the stage super fast, just left and right, over and over and over again. However, you can press up and down to make his Fire Stingray go up and down, allowing you to curve all over the stage and hit opponents in unusual patterns. Also, you can press the joystick in the direction he's going to make him go even faster, or opposite to make him slow down. So Samurai Goro's final smash is more interactive than Captain Falcon's, and has the potential to do more havoc.
Samurai Goro is the best in the galaxy!
So that's it for Samurai Goro's moveset. Tune in next time for another character.
Hello, I am Anaku-san, and I will be reviewing Isaac.
Alright, so Isaac it is. I guess I'll just dive right in with his aim moves and fighting style. Most of his save moves, of course, will be based off of his jump-heavy sword style. I also put in the Earth Psynergy moves that I didn't make Isaac's special moves. And I also think it'd be hilarious if his grab attacks were the Move Psynergy. So I guess that's about the basic premise of Isaac's A moves. So let's go on to his specials. His B move would be Quake, which would be chargeable. Basically, Isaac just makes a bunch of tiles of earth that rise up from the ground in front of him, and they hurt enemies and send them flying upward. The more charged the move is, the further it'll go and the more damage it will do. His side B would be Move, which would work the same way as it does as an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, only the hand would be much smaller, and it would also have a certain range that it could go before it disappears. And then Isaac's up B would be Retreat, which would do this. The way it would work is this. While those magic balls appear, Isaac disappears, and then when they disappear, he reappears above, kind of like Zelda's Pharaoh Wind. If an opponent touches those magic balls while they're rising, they get burned or something. And then his down B would be Rockfall, which would work like this. I guess you could compare it to Zelda's Din's Fire. While holding down B, you create a glowing patch on the ground, which then you can freely move around and have a limited time to do so. Then, when you release, on that spot, a huge reverse rainfall of rocks will come up from the ground, hitting opponent with a rapid shower of rocks. The effect would be something like this, a little smaller than it's portrayed in the actual game, so it doesn't do a ton of damage, with, like, huge giant boulders following. That is for his final smash, Gaia, which has an effect like this. Only this attack would cover the entire ground area of the stage you're on. So it would be kind of like a reverse PK Starstorm, although not as powerful, much harder to avoid. And that's it for Isaac's moveset. Tune in next time and we'll talk about a different character. This is Pizza Dude Man. Well, it's winter break, so while I do my new roster moveset videos, I'm going to introduce you to some of my friends. They will each recommend a character, and that will be the character I talk about the moveset of.
Hello, this is Mr. Pizza Man, and we're going to talk about Starfy.
You heard it here. This episode is going to be the episode about Starfy's moveset, which is going to be very interesting because it'll be the first completely new character I talk about. For these moveset videos of completely new characters, I'm not going to go through every single A attack, but rather just cover the basics of their A moves, maybe some of their throw moves, the fighting style, and maybe a couple other special attacks when necessary. With that said, Starfy is actually a pretty tough character to make up a fighting style for. Basically, it would be based off of spinning and doing different kinds of spins at different angles, but also throwing in some basic slaps, and for smash moves, some kind of powerful splash smash attacks with some water elements to spice it up. One notable A attack would be his dash attack, which would be this. So now that brings us to Starfy's B moves, his specials. Starfy's B move would of course be the Star Spin. Pretty basic spin move, but you can rapidly press B to rapidly spin into your opponents for combo hits and to project yourself forward a bit. Starfy's side B would be this, the Star Dash. Rather than combo hitting opponents, he just kind of blasts forwards and sends enemies flying. So instead of being a combo move, it's more of a power move. You can't change the direction you're going, but you can choose the direction that you go. Starfy's up B would be this, the Air Jump. A quick spin upward that repels opponents away and also reflects projectiles. And last, Kirby's down special would be this, the Shooting Star. I guess you can think of it like Kirby's Rock Attack, only it's a little faster and more powerful, but it doesn't provide you with any defense afterward. That just leaves us with Starfy's final smash, which I call Transform. It starts out like this. And then for a limited time, Starfy's B moves turn into incredibly powerful attacks. Starfy's B move becomes Dragon, where he spreads out powerful, widespread flames, and he can change the direction with which he breathes them. His side B becomes Seal, which is an incredibly fast and unexpected surprise dash move with a giant block of ice. It's powerful and it freezes opponents. His up B becomes Ghost, with which he can just freely fly around and burn opponents just by flying through them. He can also fly through most solid objects. And last is Rooster, with which he does this. Yeah, it's a widespread sound attack that blasts opponents away and reflects all projectiles. As one last side note, Starfy would have the glide ability. And that's it for Starfy's moveset. Tune in next time when we'll talk about another character on the roster. Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man with another SSB4 moveset video. Now, I'm still on winter break, and we're probably still going to have a few more guests, but we haven't had a chance to film yet. But I have a perfect opportunity here to make a video, so I thought I might as well take it. As suggested by one of my subscribers, Darth Mario 99, here's the moveset of Crystal. Now, we never actually see Crystal use her staff, but I think we can assume that she knows how to use it just as well, if not better, than Fox. It's kind of like a better example of how Zelda uses the magic attacks that Link learns in Ocarina of Time. And so, all of Crystal's moves will be based on how Fox uses the staff, as well as the staff upgrades of Star Fox Adventures. As such, her fighting style will be staff attacks, based off of this. And then the way you can flip stuff over with your staff could be the inspiration for her throw moves. Alright, so let's move on to Crystal's special moves. First, her B move would be the Fire Blaster. This is definitely the most used power in the game. In here, I imagine it would work a lot like Wolf Blaster in terms of rate of fire, as well as power and speed. However, I think you would have a little more range, and then at the end have a burning effect, kind of like a Mario Fireball. Her side B would be the Ice Blast, which of course freezes opponents in a stream of ice, with a slightly bigger range than the Ice Climber's Blizzard attack, and you also have the ability to change your direction both horizontally and vertically while firing it. And then her up B is the Rocket Boost, which automatically makes her go into this charging motion before firing, but then she goes a reasonable distance upward while impaling opponents on the way up. And last, Crystal's down B is the Force Field. You can hold it down and it works as an ultimate defense, blocking all attacks except for grabs. I guess you could say it works like Kirby's down B, except without any offensive ability. However, you can hold it down and it blocks anything thrown at you or any melee attack you're hit with. The only thing it cannot block are grabs and almost all, final smashes. And last is Crystal's final smash, the strongest staff power, the Super Quake, strong enough to take down Tyrannosaurus Rexes. In this, Crystal would jump up with her staff and then strike downward, spreading a large orange aura that rises up from the ground a certain radius around her. Anyone touched by this orange shockwave aura is blasted upward with massive damage and huge knockback, almost an ensured kill. However, the downside to it is that your opponent has to be on the ground for it to work. And that's it for Crystal's moveset. Tune in next time for another moveset.
Hi, I'm Tyrant. We will be reviewing the moveset of Ray, because Custom Robo is totally amazing.
We'll talk about the moveset of Ray, one of the toughest movesets to come up with. So first for Ray's A moves, his fighting style, there isn't much to just hand-to-hand combat in Custom Robo, save for the big tackle melee move, which would totally be his dash A move. So, for his fighting style, I would say some cool high action flipping and robotic hitting with some cool kicks and high flying punches and stuff. I would take some inspiration from this. you get the idea. So, within those A movesets, I'd also probably incorporate just a few really basic guns and stuff from Custom Robo, which takes us to Ray's special moves. Now, unfortunately, I can't show a lot of videos of these moves being shown in action. I couldn't quite find good clips of them being used. So, while I explain the special moves of Ray, I'm going to show you the intro to Custom Robo. If you've played Custom Robo, you know there are 4 types of weapons to customize your Robo with: guns, pods, legs, and bombs. I wanted to choose one of each for Ray's moveset, and I wanted to choose ones that would be basic while still being interesting. For Ray's B move, I chose the 3-way gun. Ray would fire 3 blasts from his gun that all spurred into different directions. You can use the move at a speed about between Falco and Wolf's blasters from Brawl. His side B would be the Seeker pod. Ray deploys an animal-shaped pod that independently moves and tracks down opponents, exploding on them. There can only be 2 pods out at a time. Ray's up B would be the Short Thrust, which is just a basic rocket thrust upward. However, while holding down up B, Ray gets 2 dashes, which are kind of like Pikachu's quick attack movements, in addition to his boost. Though the move does no damage, you not only blast upward, but then get 2 free horizontal boosts in either direction. His down B then is the Wave Bomb. While charging this move, you can change the trajectory with which the bomb is shot. When the bomb hits the ground, it explodes and launches a wave that splashes and spreads forwards, knocking opponents away. Once again, for Ray's final smash, I don't have a lot of video I can show you, so it'll mainly just be explaining. But Ray's final smash will be Ray Warrior. Basically what happens is a whole bunch of weaponry from Custom Robo comes onto Ray, and then he transforms into this. The powerful Ray Warrior. Basically, the way this final smash would work is all of Ray's A and B moves would become various weapons from the Custom Robo selection, allowing him to pretty much rapidly shoot stuff everywhere all the time. In addition to that, his up B gives him infinite dashes, and he gains very powerful weapons, such as the famous Dragon weapon. And that's it for Ray's moveset. Tune in next time when we'll talk about another character on the roster.
Prepare for brothers!
Smashing others!
To protect this game from stale fighters.
To make nerds pull even more all-nighters.
To announce the members of my roster.
To include a greedy pocket monster.
Pizza Dude Man.
Lord Jackal.
Team Harpit makes puns of a cheesy sort.
To welcome our latest Smash cohort.
Meow, that's right.
And that means it's time to look at the moveset of Meowth.
And I'm gonna win this tournament.
So let's start off with Meowth's fighting style. Being the Scratch Cat Pokemon, Meowth's main form of attacking would be, well, scratching. But he would also use some tail attacks, slashing, and maybe even some Mega Kick action. Alright, so let's go on to Meowth's special moves. Meowth's B move would be Payday, used in the same way he uses it in Brawl. It would mainly push opponents while doing light damage. To use the move, you have to keep rapidly pressing B. Next is Meowth's side B, which is the Bite attack. Meowth suddenly dives forward and latches onto a nearby opponent and bites them. Then while latched onto your opponent, you can rapidly press B to keep biting them, a lot like Bowser's Koopa Claw attack from Melee. Next is Meowth's up B, the Fury Swipes. The move is inspired from both this and from this animation. What I imagine is a huge arced upward lunge where Meowth rapidly slashes around, combo hitting opponents. And last, I would make Meowth's down B Dig. Here's how it would work. Meowth would dig underground, and then a little bit ahead of that dig spot, come up suddenly with an uppercut slash attack. However, if you're holding down B down, then you can move underground freely, undetected, and then strike whenever you release down B, or when your time runs out. You would have to estimate where you are, however, because during this dig attack you would be completely invisible. Also, if you're standing on a platform that you can duck through and you use the dig attack, Meowth will just automatically fall through. This move could also be a homage to the Team Rocket grunt that gives you the dig attack in Pokemon Red and Blue. And that brings us to Meowth's final smash, which, in a reference to Pokemon Yellow, is in fact Team Rocket. This is how it would work. A bunch of Team Rocket grunts would appear in the background. Then, in the same style as the Pokemon Trainer, they throw out a bunch of Team Rocket related Pokemon to attack you, which includes Raticate, Sandslash, Arbok, Weezing, Marowak, Machoke, and Hypno. So a mass amount of Pokemon of this theme would run around the stage and attack your opponents. However, unlike King Dedede's Waddle Dee army, they won't just go away after a certain amount of time. They will stay there until they are defeated. They have HP like enemies of Subspace Emissary and can be attacked, but they must be destroyed. And that's it for Meowth's moveset.
That was great! I'm so proud!
Tune in next time for another character.
Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man, and now we only have 3 characters left. The next character is Micaiah, as suggested by the Nerd Ooze.
Now, Micaiah is very interesting when compared to the other Fire Emblem characters I made playable. She'd be the first female character from Fire Emblem, the first one not to use a sword, and the first one to have all special moves based off of her actual spells from the game. That's right, I made all of Micaiah's B moves light spells that she can learn. So her fighting style is a lot like Zelda, exclusively fighting by using magic. Only, unlike Zelda, he uses different kinds of elemental and basic magic. Micaiah is completely based on using light magic. Like this. Yeah, and that kind of quick strike is going to be the basis of Micaiah's fighting style. Now, while her attacks are somewhat weak and she's a bit slow, her attack speed is amazingly fast, and her attacks spread out wide, like Lucaria's aura, but maybe even a little better, blasting light everywhere as she attacks. So Micaiah's fighting style is purely based on accuracy. While her attacks may not be powerful, they're gonna come at you fast, and they're gonna come at you from far away. As one other quick note, Micaiah's throws are gonna be similar to Zelda's grabs, catching the opponent magically. So then Micaiah's B move is the light magic spell, Nosferatu. Now, I wanted to implement Micaiah's healing abilities somehow into an attack. So, although her sacrifice ability is better known than this works too. With the way sacrifice works in Radiant Dawn, I couldn't think of a way for it to be useful unless you were in a team battle. Of course, they've used other moves the way they're not really supposed to be used before.
The instant it falls asleep, there's a huge buildup of energy in its center of gravity.
Yeah, because I remember that from the Pokemon games. In any case, the way Micaiah's Nosferatu works is kind of like Captain Falcon and his Falcon Punch. It's the only move that's an exception to the rest of her accuracy style. In this move, Micaiah, with her hands, creates a ball of light that she shoots forward. The ball of light is very, very slow moving and only goes a certain range before disappearing. However, if you do get your opponents caught in this ball of light, it will engulf them in light, and then it becomes a button mashing struggle. Your opponent's rapidly trying to hit buttons to escape, while you're rapidly hitting buttons to do damage to your opponent. Every time you press a button, your opponent takes a little bit of damage, and for every damage that your opponent takes, Micaiah heals. This would be the first HP drain attack in a Smash game. And then Micaiah's side B is the Shine attack. This one fits in with her accuracy theme. In fact, it's probably her best move supporting it. This is the way it works. Around Micaiah, there's like a big bubble area where this Shine attack can hit. By pressing side B, Micaiah makes a quick motion with her hand, and then one opponent that is within this bubble of her just explodes in light. Of course, this means it's a very unpredictable, fast, and surprising attack. However, like her other light moves, it is weak. Now you can charge it up to give it more damage and knockback, but that takes away some of the surprise factor. So with that, let's move on to Micaiah's up B, Elite. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I'll play it a little slower and explain how it works. So Micaiah will float upward as she's creating a bunch of strands of light around her. Then, at the peak of her height, the strands of light will blast downward, kind of in a random scatter pattern at lightning speed. The floating itself is a pretty decent and high recovery, while the strands of light that shoot downward protect Micaiah against edgehoggers, and also move in another unpredictable and hard-to-avoid pattern that fits to her theme, although they are weak. And then last is Micaiah's down B, Corona. Within a certain radius around Micaiah, probably about the same for her shine attack, a bunch of balls of magic float up from the ground. Anyone within this radius of Micaiah when she uses this attack becomes unable to defend for a while, so she can unleash her massive, accurate combos at them pretty easily at that point. So Micaiah is a person whose moves all work together to set a certain goal. As one quick side note, although most of Micaiah's moves are revolved around the idea of getting for sure accurate hits on your opponent and racking up damage on them quickly, she also, of course, will have a few moves that are based on the idea of knocking your opponent away. Everyone needs some knockback moves, so she'll have a few attacks which, of course, are just her hitting her arms forward and having a blast of magic that knocks opponents away, and maybe a few powerful kicks, too. So the last thing then is Micaiah's final smash. Fanny, Micaiah's own personal light magic spell. Now it works as a much larger scale version of what you just saw. Micaiah creates a giant ball of light magic and then throws it downward to the bottom of the stage. Then, when it reaches the bottom, it releases a giant beam of light upward. So it kind of works like a vertical version of Zelda's light arrows. This giant beam of light is very powerful, does rapid combo damage, and then upon its disappearing knocks opponents far away. And it also has the additional ability of sucking opponents into it, like Deoxys' Hyper Beam attack. However, like many Final Smashes, it requires a little bit of setup. You need to make sure that your opponents are all in a nice vertical area around you so that they get hit by the blast, or are close to it. So that's it for Micaiah's moveset. Tune in next time when we just have 2 more characters to talk about. Hey, this is Pizza Dude Man, and now we only got 4 more characters until we've covered them all. Now, the character that we're going to talk about is Klaus, as suggested by Darth Mario 99. Now, I have to say right now that, in case you have not played Mother 3, and you don't want to be spoiled, not to watch this video because it's gonna cover a lot of spoilers about Mother 3 and Klaus's identity and everything. If you care. So, on with the moveset. Now, Klaus is a character that's actually really easy to make a really good moveset for. Most of the main characters of the Mother series have really distinct powers anyway, so when we don't have 2 psychic users from Mother, like having both Ness and Lucas, we can have 2 Mother characters that are really different and both really cool. Klaus in particular is a really interesting character, being both one of the best good guys from the Mother series, as well as being one of the best bad guys from the Mother series. And I can't think of any game series that pulls this off as well as Mother does, having a character that's just as cool as being good as he is as being bad. Klaus's A fighting style would be based off of his sword with a few kicks thrown in. Now the interesting thing about Klaus's sword is that it's basically enchanted with electricity. So Klaus's sword fighting style would be a lot like Meta Knight's. Because of his short arms and use of only one arm for his sword, he would just do very quick slashes in nice combos. However, while he doesn't match Meta Knight's speed at all, what his advantage is that his sword produces electricity every time he strikes. So while he's hitting the opponent, he's also rapidly electrocuting the opponent for little minor hits of weak damage. So rather than taking damage from one big sword swipe, Klaus's sword deals a bunch of little bit of damage with electricity, with the ending part of the attack retaining good knockback with his smashes. Klaus's B move would be the Beam Cannon. As you can see, Klaus has a beam cannon on his right arm, and he uses it in battle. This one works pretty basically. Klaus pulls up his beam cannon, and he shoots with it. The beam is like a bigger version of a ray gun shot, a big blue blast that knocks opponents away with moderate damage. While it's wider than the ray gun, though, he can't shoot it as quickly. Also, if he uses the move while in the air, he'll shoot it at a diagonal downward angle, allowing him to shoot opponents below him. And then Klaus's side B would be the double strike. Another ability of Klaus's I always remember is in the final battle with him, where he gets to attack you twice, making you unable to do anything but constantly shield and heal yourself, or else you're gonna die. So this one would work like a less extreme version of Marth's Sword Dance, with less combo damage but more knockback. By pressing side B, Klaus does a jumping sword strike. Then, if this jumping sword lunge hits the opponent, you have the option of pressing side B, up B, or down B, each with different effects. By pressing side B, he'll do a forward stab with his sword, which knocks the opponents a good distance away. By pressing up B, he'll hit the opponents upward with his sword, which sends them flying. And by pressing down B, he'll slam his opponents down into the ground with his sword, which is powerful, and then you can use A-move combos. And then his up B is his cybernetic wings. This one is just a really simplified version of all the other boosters you see. It's more simple than Diddy Kong's boosters, Falco's, Rob's, Mega Man's. This is just a simple boost. You just press up B, he grows wings out of his back, and then you blast upward like a rocket. You can make him go horizontally a little bit, but it's not too much of a big change. The one advantage that Klaus has to his rockets is that since they're faster, he can actually perform meteor smashes with them. If he's above an opponent, the fire that comes from his engines will jet opponents downward in a nice meteor smash. Also, as a side note, Klaus is another character with the glide ability, like Pit, Meta Knight, Ridley, and Starfy. And then Klaus's down B is another one of his strange devices, the Shield Killer. Klaus's sword glows, and he stabs forward with it. This move does no damage or anything. It has one pure function. It breaks through all shields. Natural shields, reflectors, Fox's barrier. This move will just destroy any shield in his way. Doesn't do damage, even if it's a normal shield, it doesn't crack open and makes the opponent dizzy. It just makes their shield gone. And then Klaus's final smash is lightning. Klaus makes a strange motion with his sword, and then a single bolt of lightning will strike down on every opponent. It actually targets them, and then goes down and strikes them. The move deals a lot of damage and decent knockback, plus it comes down quick and it automatically targets your opponents. It only has one real disadvantage in that it's predictable. Opponents know what's going to happen. They know that a lightning bolt is going to come down and hit them. So, while they might have a chance to escape, if you could set it up, it can be a really good final smash. So that's it for Klaus's moveset. Tune in next time when we talk to the third to the last character. This is Pizza Dude Man with another SSB4 character moveset. Today we have another suggestion from my subscriber Darth Mario 99, and it is for the classic NES character Little Mac. Now, when it came to making Little Mac's moveset, I bounced around several ideas. Ultimately, I decided to entirely base his moveset off of Punch-Out Wii. This makes Little Mac very interesting. With all my other fighters, I try to make their moves as unique and diverse as possible so they're not completely set around a theme. However, Little Mac here is the sole exception. He's the only character on the entire roster who's actually a professional fighter, and as such, he goes with an entire theme of doing nothing but punching. That's right, as a professional boxer, all of Little Mac's A moves will be based off of one thing: punching his opponents. Now you may be wondering, if all he does is punch, how's he going to grab his opponents? Well, I imagine he would just hold his opponents in place by doing some kind of a double-fisted punch. Yeah, something like that. So now let's move on to Little Mac's special moves. Since they're all based off of punching, they're all pretty basic, but they all fit to getting in close under your opponent and unleashing combo heck upon them. His B move is Hook. Little Mac will just keep alternating left and right hooks as fast as you can press the B button. Although the move is a little weak in power, it sucks your opponents in while you're using it, so once you get in close to your opponents, it's great for combos. Then on the opposite side is Little Mac's side B move, Jab. The jab attack is better for hitting taller opponents, and it does more damage than his hook attack. You can use the move as fast as you can rapidly press side B, however, instead of pulling your opponents towards you, this one pushes your opponents away a little bit. The tricky part about using Little Mac's B and side B moves is getting close enough to your opponent to make them effective. But once you are close enough to your opponents, you can alternate between Mac's B and side B to trap your opponents in a combo frenzy. And that's what I think Punch-Out and Little Mac is about. Technique. With that, let's move on to Little Mac's up B, the uppercut. Little Mac just does a quick motion like this. Now, this isn't the Star Punch attack, but this is the same kind of motion that Little Mac will make. It makes him rise upward, and it's Little Mac's finishing move, especially good for when you're using his B and side B moves when you want to finish your opponent off. So now we have Little Mac's down B. Little Mac's down B is his one saving grace to getting close in onto his opponents. The move is block. Little Mac will just cover his head quick with his gloves once and block any move. After blocking the move, even if it's a projectile, Little Mac will proceed to rush forward at lightning speed. If Little Mac touches an opponent while running like this, he'll deliver a single punch that makes them dizzy, as if your shield was broken. So, with that, let's move on to Little Mac's final smash, the Star Punch. I guess you could compare this move to Marth's critical hit. However, Mac doesn't rush forward while using the move, so while it has less risk associated with it, it means you have to be right next to your opponents to connect. When compared to the critical hit, however, this one's much more powerful, dealing the same kind of power and knockback as if you're being attacked by the ultimate Chimera. This move is pretty much an ensured kill. It will kill the opponent if you hit them with it. So that's it for Little Mac's moveset. Tune in next time for another character on my roster. Hey, this is Pete the Dude Man, back with another SSB4 character moveset video. Today, as suggested by one of my subscribers, the nerd 000Z, we'll be looking at the moveset of the Excitebiker. Now, while this is definitely a surprise character, Excitebike is a big Nintendo franchise, and there are many ways to fight on a bike. Even in Excitebike games, you are encouraged to knock your opponent down. So here's just a mini montage on how dangerous bikes can be. So I don't think that fighting on a bike is that big of a stretch, so let's move on to the Excitebiker's special moves. The Excitebiker's B move would be Turbo. This is a common thing to do in Excitebiker games. You press the button, flames come out the back of your engine, and you go a lot faster. The way it would work is, while holding down the B button, you go a lot faster and you can damage opponents just by running into them. However, you can only sustain this for a certain amount of time. And then his side B would be Power Slide, an extreme form of drifting that can be used while going very fast to maintain your speed. This would be a versatile-like move. If you're just going normally and then you press it, your character will turn around quickly while doing like a wheelie and hitting the people and then boost the other way. Like a hit-and-run type of attack. However, if you're using your turbo, your character will instead do a really long slide, allowing you to crash through several opponents, and then you can turn around, allowing you to combo hit them some more. Or, if you're using it in the air, you'll just do a quick slide forward in the air, allowing you to recover easier. Then the Excitebiker's up B is Slope. A slope appears beneath the Excitebiker and he goes up it very quickly, allowing you to burst into opponents that are above you. If you use the move while on the ground, the slope will stay on the ground for a short amount of time. And then his down B is Mud Trap. You can see the mud traps here scattered along the ground, though all these Excitebikers are being very careful to avoid them. The move would work like this. The Excitebiker leaves a patch of mud behind him, which stays there for a short amount of time. If an opponent comes in contact with the mud, they will start rapidly tripping as they try to move, or do anything. This move would also work well in combination with his side B move, the Power Slide, if you're just using it without any turbo, because since you hit your opponent and then go the opposite way, if you immediately use the Mud Trap, if your opponent tries to pursue you after your hit and run attack, they're going to have a heck of a time with the mud. And then the Excite Biker's final smash is Excite Truck. He climbs into an Excite Truck, and then he does this. This allows him to kill enemies just by running into them and blasting through them at high speeds, kinda like the old Supersonic. However, unlike the old Supersonic, he can't fly, so he's confined to the ground and can do short jumps. And so that's it for the Excite Bikers moveset. Tune in next time for another SSB4 character moveset. Hello, this is Pizza Dude Man. Now, we're going to look at the moveset of Simon Belmont, as suggested by my subscriber, Phoenix Star 5000. Now, I'm excited for this moveset video because I really like Castlevania and Simon Belmont. He doesn't give as much recognition as a good third-party character choice as he should. I think he's a lot more deserving than Bomberman and Pac-Man, and you see those two a lot more. Well then, let's go right into his moveset. For Simon Belmont's A-moves, of course, he would use his whip. And no game has shown Simon Belmont use his whip in more different ways than in this game. Castlevania Judgment. Now, this wasn't a great game. It had some interesting character designs and very, very awkward control. However, if there were two things that were good about it, it had some really epic music, and it also had some pretty cool attacks.
There is a...
You're mine! Away with you! You're mine!
So at least it shows Simon using his whip in a lot of different ways, making a good A moveset for him. Now, let's move on to his special moves. I guess you could compare the special moves that I gave Simon Belmont to the special moves that Link has. They're all based off of his various sub-weapons that he uses in Castlevania. For instance, Simon's B move is the dagger. Simon Belmont throws a dagger, which, while weak, is very, very fast and goes flying across the screen, having a good range before being affected by gravity. You can also throw the daggers quite rapidly, at about a pace a little slower than Falco's blaster from Brawl. Then Simon's side B is the axe. Simon Belmont throws an axe. Well, the axe is much slower and doesn't have nearly the kind of range that the dagger has. The axe is thrown upward in an arc angle, allowing Simon to hit opponents that are above him. The axe is also a very powerful weapon, dealing a good amount of knockback as well as damage. Then his up B is his longest whip extension, the Morning Star. When used on the ground, it acts as a longer ranged but slower normal attack. But in the air, it works as a tether recovery. And his down B is the Holy Water. Simon throws a vial of holy water on the ground, which, upon either hitting the ground or an opponent, bursts into flames, causing damage. So of course, between his A moves and his B moves, Simon's focus is on range, with the ability to throw projectiles in any direction, making him a triple threat, as well as having long-ranged A moves and an up B to support it. So last, we have Simon Belmont's final smash, the Cross Boomerang. In Castlevania, the Cross Boomerang is generally accepted as being the best of Simon's sub-weapons, which makes sense, since it's pretty much the anti-symbol of the undead. When used effectively, this weapon was known for killing multiple strong enemies at a time. To make it more like a final smash, though, Simon Belmont would combine his normal way of using the boomerang by just throwing it, along with the item crash ability of the boomerang seen in later Castlevania games. So a bunch of cross boomerangs come flying up from out of the ground, and as they do, Simon Belmont throws them everywhere all over the stage. These cross boomerangs actually seek down opponents, following them in a spinning pattern. And once they hit them, they start rapidly combo damaging the opponent, spinning into them like a buzzsaw, ending by blasting them away as they return to Simon. So that's it for Simon Belmont's moveset. Tune in next time for another character.
Hi folks, this is JT Leaper. Here we are, and I'm going to show you the moveset of Mega Man.
Mega Man's a tough character to finalize a moveset for. He has a lot of abilities and he showcases them in a lot of different ways through different games. This is an updated video. I've decided to change a few things from my last Mega Man video. So, Mega Man this time around is going to have powers based on both of his appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and other various Mega Man Classics appearances in fighting games, as well as Mega Man Volnut's recent appearance in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. It will be a mix between the two, creating a brand new mixed Mega Man Ultimate Fighter. Mega Man's A moveset, because of this, is now a mix between his fighting style from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as well as his fighting style from Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Both of these styles are pretty similar, but both of them really show the best physical capabilities of Mega Man in general. For Mega Man's B move, I of course chose the Mega Buster, which would work like this. You can fire 3 small shots that just kind of work like the same power of projectile punches. Or you can charge it up and fire 1 big blast that deals even more power and knockback. However, unlike Samus, you cannot store your charge. And you have to hold the B button down to charge. You know, as one quick side note, probably one of the best things about having Mega Man as a character in this game would be the epic fight music that we get along with him. I mean, listen to this. I mean, isn't that just great? Yes, it is. So, now then, I've changed both Mega Man's Side B and Down B, so I'm going to talk about them both at once. Now, Mega Man's Down B is just a weapon change ability. A little more simple, but a little more controlled. Mega Man has the ability to switch between 4 different weapons with his weapon change ability, all of them based off of Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. They include his normal arm, his Machine Buster arm, his shield arm, and his drill arm. When it comes to his A moves, they don't really change with each weapon, except for the normal punch is a little better. However, Mega Man's Side B move now is the weapon arm, where he'll use the special ability of whatever weapon he's currently holding. With the normal arm equipped, Mega Man's Side B is just a slightly more powerful punch. With the Machine Buster equipped, Mega Man's Side B becomes a quick rapid-fire burst of Machine Buster shots. With his shield arm, Mega Man can rush forward and combo hit while being immune to most attacks. And with his drill arm, Mega Man can perform a powerful but somewhat slow-moving drill rush forward. Mega Man's Up B is now also changed to one of his common fighting game moves, the Mega Upper, which is a huge uppercut. As is usually the case with the Mega Upper will cause Mega Man to go flying upward while rapidly combo hitting the opponent with his fist. If you have a different weapon out other than Mega Man's fist, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever, unless you're using the drill. The drill gives Mega Man a little bit more range and looks something like this. And last is Mega Man's Final Smash, which this time around is Hyper Mega Man, his special move from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Mega Man will transform into the massive Hyper Mega Man, and he will do this. Like Ganondorf's Final Smash, it's just a quick transformation that doesn't allow you to control its transformed state. He'll just transform, launch a bunch of homing rockets everywhere while firing a Mega Blast forward, and then it's over. And that's it for Mega Man's moveset. Tune in next time for another character.